And sorry, y'all. I guess this is why some people start it before the meeting goes, but then they've got all those minutes of like boredom beforehand, and we won't. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us, especially if you're joining us on Facebook. We're here with Susan Inman, our Arkansas State voting rights advocate extraordinaire, and she is going to run us through a quick training on how to vote absentee during the pandemic, as well as how to help our friends and family vote absentee. So I am now going to present the slideshow, and let's go, Susan.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to be here and happy to present this because we all know how important this is, because we won't get to participate, many of us, if we don't have the ability to get an absentee ballot. So what I want to talk about is just what happens. How do you do it? How do you get an absentee ballot? So you have to ask for it. You have to request of the clerk to send you an absentee ballot. And then why do you want to do this? Well, COVID-19, 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 and you'll have time to study your ballot and you can vote safely at home. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody on this call, there will be polling place closures in the fall. If this pandemic takes the steps that it's taking, they will close polling places and consolidate polling places. So we need to be prepared to be able to vote. And that's what absentee voting is. So let's flip it up to the next slide. So this is the Arkansas application for an absentee ballot. And this kind of gives you an idea how to fill it out. We cut this into two parts because it was too long to fit on one page. So the address goes to your county clerk, the date you filled it out. You are requesting an absentee ballot for the first reason on the form. You will be unavoidably absent from your polling place on election day. That has been authorized as an acceptable excuse for voters that do not want to go to the polls and request an absentee ballot. The second thing, you have to check where you reside. And this is so the clerk will know who you are and who they're sending this ballot to. The next highlighted place is the election you're requesting. Go back, Laura. The general election, nonpartisan general runoff and general election runoff. That's the election November 3rd. That's the one you're asking for. You do not have to fill out any party preference because that's for requesting absentee ballots. So now we can flip down to the next one. So the clerk has to know where to send the ballot. So if you're like out of state, out of town, you'll put an address to receive it. If you live here, you want the ballot mailed to your home, you check that box and say where you want it sent. If you want to go pick up your ballot in person, you check the top box saying you'll be coming in to pick it up. The clerk has to know where to send it. So this is very important. And then you're signing the bottom part attesting that you are a registered voter in Pulaski County or whatever county, your current registered address, your date of birth, and your signature. Send that to the clerk. You can email it, you can mail it, you can fax it, you can even take a picture of it with your phone and email it to the clerk's office, but it needs to get there. And the deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 27th, but don't wait until then. If you wait until then, you may not get an absentee ballot back in time to you and back to the clerk in time. So it's imperative that we make these requests now. So a couple of reasons. So the counties will know how many absentee ballots to print and how many envelopes to order to send them in and how many people it's going to need to help process the absentee ballots when they come back in time to be counted. So next slide. So when will your ballot arrive? They're mailed out in the late September, early October, based on when you request it. The clerks don't even have them to mail out until the end of September. And that's when they start sending them. Like the military people that have requested ballots or overseas citizens will be mailed out first. So depending on when you request it, it will come sometime in October or as soon as you get your request in and they're available. You'll receive a large envelope addressed to you, and inside will be an unmarked ballot, a blank voter statement with instructions, a ballot-only envelope to secure your marked ballot, and a pre-addressed envelope to send it all back. So that's what comes in the mail when you receive your absentee ballot. Go to the next slide. So when I'll tell you this, it is easier to vote in person than it is to vote absentee, but it's safer to vote absentee than it is in person these days. So it may sound complex the way we go through this process, but it's all about ensuring that you're the voter and the information is correct, and you're sending back the ballot correctly, and it will be properly processed. So the voter statement is one of the most important parts of voting absentee. You've got to print your name, sign it, put your date of birth, your registration address, and provide a photocopy of your photo ID, or there's a place on the voter statement to sign optional verification of identity. And this is for voters that don't have a photocopy machine and can't return a photocopy of their ID. So it is not absolutely required for most voters to send back a photocopy of an ID, but sign that statement, optional verification of ID. So you package your materials back, and you have to put them all in the right place. Your completed voter statement, your marked ballot sealed up in the ballot only envelope, and then the photocopy, unless you've signed on the voter statement. You seal all this stuff up in the big return envelope, put stamps on it as required, and put it in the mailbox. That's it. You voted. You roll up to the next slide. People are asking questions. So if you want to check to see if your ballot was received, call the clerk's office and ask. Or you can visit www.voterview.ar, or this URL here on the screen, and check. It'll tell you, when you look up your voter registration, the status of your absentee ballot, whether it was received, whether it's in process, whether it was counted. So you can always check to verify that your ballot has been received by the clerk. And I can tell you from working at elections for many, many years, all valid absentee ballots will be counted, all of them. Anybody have any questions or questions coming in? I see they're coming in. Yes, it is 3 stamps in Pulaski County to put on your ballot. It's different in other counties. That's why you need to verify with the clerk, and your envelope and materials will tell you how many stamps to place on the envelope. We're trying to get that changed through a lawsuit that's pending, asking that the state or the county pay for the postage. So we'll see how that works out. So Indivisible has been instrumental in trying to get this information out about absentee voting and how critical it is that we act now to request our absentee ballot, so everybody will have time to get prepared and get the ballots printed and back out to the voters. And also, if you have you don't get your ballot, or you change your mind and you want to go to the polls, you still can. You just would be required to vote a provisional ballot. Yes, Laurie?
Let's see here. Laurie asks, is it okay to include more than one application per envelope?
Your application to request?
Yes.
That doesn't matter. The requests are not as unique to the voter as the balloting materials. So you could drop off a whole stack of absentee ballot requests. That's not a problem. That is not prohibited. But only one ballot and ballot information can come back when you return your voted ballot. If 2 people in a household, want to put it together to just cover the postage, they can't do it. It won't be counted. Neither ballot will be counted. So each individual voter's ballot has to come back in those particular envelopes.
Susan, did you see Terry's question? What would invalidate, and Terry, is this, you say ballot, and you mean ballot and not ballot application, right? Because there's two different things. We're talking today about the ballot application, and then later, of course, in October, you'll get your ballot, but she says ballot.
Well, but say the
And
question.
so I guess her question, what would invalidate a ballot? Like things that you might do wrong.
Okay, if the voter didn't sign the voter statement, that would invalidate the whole ballot. If the voter didn't sign or it made their signature didn't match the application, that could invalidate it. If the ballot comes back not marked, you didn't mark it, then there's no vote. So it's mostly invalidated because of failure to properly complete the voter statement or not return an ID if needed.
Okay. And so Kelly asks, how do you get the form to request an absentee ballot?
They're all over the internet. You've got them on your, Indivisible has it available on their website, and you can get it from the Secretary of State's website. If you're in Pulaski County, you can get it from the Pulaski County Clerk's website. You can call the county clerk and say, send me an absentee ballot application, and they'll send it to you.
And if you go to indivisiblelrca.org or VIPvoter.org, at the top, both of those have a voter info menu option, and both of them have an option that says request your ballot. And if you go to either of those places, you can get a list of county clerks with their phone numbers and email addresses and give them a call to request, or you can print out the ballot yourself and just fill it out and email them a picture. Either way.
Yeah, the county clerks are very helpful. I mean, they're there for you. That is their job. So don't ever hesitate to call and ask a question. The county clerks are the voter registrar, and they take care of absentee voting and your registration. And there's no reason not to call if you have a question.
Okay, I think, Hayden, I just answered your question by accident. Is there one stop shop that lists county clerk information for all counties in Arkansas? And there is a PDF list that's available at the Secretary of State's office, and it's also on our website, VIP Voter and Indivisible LRCA, and it lists everybody. So you can distribute that list widely to all your friends across the state. I may be missing
Lori,
some.
there's a question on Facebook. It's, if I can ask, it says
Yeah.
the Garland County Clerk's Office has given people two different answers about which ballot to request. Would you repeat that section again?
Well, if you want there may be some other election going on in Garland County right now, but the November general election is the general, that checkbox right here on the form, the general election, nonpartisan runoff, and general election runoff. So that covers the presidential election ballot with everybody on it, and judicial candidates' names will be on it. And then if there is a runoff from the general, which would be some municipal offices possibly, that would also allow for that to be sent to the voter.
Okay.
Thank you.
We've got 2 minutes before we're supposed to be turning to our next topic. We might run a couple minutes over, but let's see here. Barrett says it's good to know that all absentee ballots will be counted. Did you already cover this one, Susan? Is there a checks and balance system to ensure this, or is there some accountability to ensure that?
Well, I've heard many people think or mistakenly say that if the election is, decided by votes before the absentee ballots are counted, that they won't be counted, but yes, they will. They'll all be counted if they're valid and added into the totals. In particular, overseas citizens and military voters overseas out of their area, and their spouses have an extra window of time to return their absentee ballots. The domestic voters, or the people that live in domestic voters, the ones that live here, have to have their absentee ballot in by the close of business on election day. It has to be received by mail on that day. But the other category of voters are allowed an extra 10 days to get their votes in. So the numbers are really not certified until all possible votes have come in, and inclusive of absentee voters. So they're all counted.
Okay, Meg Koziar says, I already sent in my application. I don't recall if I signed using my middle initial. So what did she do? Can she get a look at how she signed?
Well, the clerk is going to look at the name and the date of birth and the address and verify that that is in fact a registered voter in that county. So, but if she has a question or a concern, again, I'll say call the clerk's office and ask if that's a problem. It shouldn't be, because they're going to look at the first name, last name, and date of birth and physical address.
Okay. All right, Donna, are there any more questions on Facebook before we wrap up?
Here's one that says, I got here late, but can you explain the ID requirement for absentee ballots?
Absentee voters are required to return a photocopy of their photo ID when they return their absentee ballot, unless they don't have a photocopy machine and they can sign on the voter statement, optional verification of identity. It's very important that they sign that if they don't return a copy. There's one exception that is required to return a copy of their ID, and that's a first-time voter, someone who has never voted in Arkansas before, who registered to vote by mail. So nobody's seen them anywhere. They are required to submit a photocopy of their ID. But any other voter, eligible voter, who cannot provide or produce a copy of their ID can sign the optional verification of identity on the voter statement. And that's very important.
Okay.
There's also a comment here that says, and this may be Lone Oak, I'm not sure. My county says the ballot has to be in the day before the election.
If you delivered in person, yes, it has to be hand delivered the day before the election, but ballots in the mail will be coming in. They have to be in by election day. Then the clerk's office will check the post office, until the last possible delivery of ballots or mail has come in.
Okay, and that's why Susan is a lead on this project, on our coalition efforts. We're working with NAACP, League of Women Voters, Citizens First Congress, Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families, Disability Rights Arkansas. So it's a great coalition to put this information together, and we're so grateful to Susan because, she knows it all.
Well, it's kind of my thing, and it's important.
So this is actually, in fact, Susan put together most of the material in, for example, this flyer that we're putting together. So look for it. We're going to be finalizing this Why Vote Absentee flyer that you can print out. We'll be, of course, making lots of copies and have to share with your friends and family over the next month or two. And in particular, right now, we're really urging people to create a surge in requesting their absentee ballots at their county clerk, and that's so that the county clerks will kind of get this heads up. Hey, there is going to be a spike in absentee ballots to process this year in 2020, and so we need to prepare. So if you could just encourage your friends, so look for the brochure. That'll be out soon. Go to Vote Safe Arkansas on Instagram, Twitter, and Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course. And let's see if I'm gonna take y'all to so I used it to post. My daughter, I know you can't hear the sound, but did this TikTok video of me, because no one else, I can't seem to get anyone else who's willing to go on camera. But so we tweeted this TikTok video of, voting, right? So if I challenge you to make your own video and post it on the Vote Safe AR hashtag. We also have some social media. Oops, I'm not sure what I'm doing there. And then of course, you know, the information's on our website. So I think that
Yeah.
was pretty much it. And I just want to make sure everyone has Susan's email address. Oops. If you want to get in touch with her specifically on this. Any other questions or thoughts or anything, Donna?
One more question. Can we pre-fill the application and have the voter complete personal information on the absentee ballot request?
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it's their personal request, but you could certainly pre-fill in the county clerk if you're in the right county. And, you know, the mailing address for the clerk's office. Yeah, but everything else on it's going to be pretty specific to what the voter wants. But as you are becoming ambassadors for absentee voting, you need to be aware, because they may ask you, how do I fill out this form? Which is why we did that sort of example printed mock-up form, which is available at the VIP voters website. So it's helpful information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks for all the questions, because those really help us all, you know, think about the things that we don't know yet. Okay, we are moving on now to the second portion of today's program. So a lot of y'all I know were with us on June 6th for the Take a Knee rally. Marquis Hunt was the organizer of that rally, and Indivisible was proud to support him and some other community leaders at the Hoover United Methodist Church and other folks to put on a, you know, rally for justice. And it was really kind of a moving event. And now we welcome him back to talk with us a little bit, reflect on the past few weeks on what we've been doing and what we need to continue doing differently. And then after Marquis's reflection, stay on, because Kelly is going to then kind of lead us in a conversation about what our specific experiences have been. So we're looking forward to kind of hearing what y'all have to say. So, all right, Marquis, are you there? That's what you got to make sure to unmute, Marquis. I saw him earlier. Oh, there he is. Okay, got it. Did you? Now you got to unmute yourself, Marquis. There you go.
Yeah, there it goes. I tried earlier. So anyway, I'm here. Thank you, Lori. It's a beautiful moment in this world. Thank you for having me on. Hello, all of the Indivisible community. I haven't met all of you, but I am eternally grateful for the work that you've done in the Take a Knee rally. The Take a Knee rally would not have happened had Indivisible not shown up. Lori, you are well, in our community, we say you are a beast, because that means you are beasting. You are like top of the class. You know how to do your thing, and you know how to do this thing. So thank you so much, Indivisible. You are lucky to have Lori Evans with you. I feel like in many respects, we are in a tale of two Americas. Charles Dickens, the Tale of Two Cities, he said it was the age of wisdom. It was also the age of foolishness. It was the age of belief. It's also the age of incredulity. And I feel like this is where we are, especially in terms of building a community, a culture of people that can support all of us, and in particular, the anti-racist work. We are in two different Americas. COVID-19, we are in two different Americas. And so the Take a Knee rally was designed specifically to speak to people who are identifying as white people, mostly baby boomers and Gen Xers, people who have resource, land, property, because this was precipitated by the George Floyd event, also in part by the Amy Cooper event in Central Park in New York. But what happened, and what our approach was conciliatory. We wanted to go to the police station to talk to them a little bit, in part about how they could reframe their interactions with the Black community, the Black and Brown community. Since that time, I've been working with several organizations. One is LROC, which is Greater Little Rock Organizing Committee, and then also another group of faith-based leaders to the Clinton Foundation that originally convened to talk about the opioid crisis, but they have morphed into a conversation about anti-racism. and police brutality. So this is where I've been involved over the last few weeks and largely thrusted into the mainstream because of that Take a Knee rally. I would encourage you, if you haven't looked at the video by Good Faith Media, to go and look at the video if you want to have something that you can share with your friends. But where we are, I've been just finished 7 episodes on Facebook through Zoom, a series called The Spirituality of Whiteness, where we talk about how whiteness lives in plain sight. Whiteness, not white people, but the culture and the hegemony of what whiteness is. Black people are usually identified by the pigmentation, and whiteness is usually identified by public policy. So this is one of the reasons I appreciate what Indivisibility is doing, because voting is critical, it's essential. And one of the biggest ways we can demonstrate anti-racism and a way to ameliorate or fix anti-Blackness is to go to the polls and vote, or in this case, get your voter ballot, get it mailed to you. Don't let anything stand in the way of voting. Right now, the powers that be are definitely concerned that people can't get to the polls. I suspect, as was mentioned earlier, that the COVID-19 crisis is going to be used to basically close and shut down some polls. There are a lot of people who are not interested if you have a progressive bent or progressive lean, or if you are an ally, a white ally for people, an anti-racist, for anti-racist activity. There are a lot of people who hold power who are not interested in you voting. So it's critically important that you pay attention and that you don't let anything deter you. What we've been doing, because there have been a lot of people who have been asking questions and trying to figure out how they can get involved. I'd encourage you to look up this young lady, Dr. Carol Ann Vaughn Cross. Carol Ann, that's 4 names, Carol Ann Vaughn Cross. She was our last guest on the spirituality of whiteness. She's the associate professor of geography and sociology at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. If you can go to my Facebook page and look at that last video, you will be enormously informed in terms of how the culture and even our religious culture is protecting racist activity and racist policy, even anti-women policy in this culture, in our country. These are things you can do. If you are parents, don't hesitate to educate your children outside of school. There's educational resources that our current educational system does not give us. This is the worst of time, it's the best of times. We have a president who I think is continuously inflaming anti-science. He's inflaming racist behavior. And what we can do with this, there are some benefits to it. For instance, take the Juneteenth celebration. There are a lot of people now, white America knows a lot about Juneteenth and a lot of the anti-Black not loitering. I'm thinking about the terrorism that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, the massacre, the Greenwood massacre, Black Wall Street. There are a lot of people that are learning a lot more information now about the history of America, from the Trail of Tears to the Greenwood massacre. Tell your children, talk to your children. This movement will not get stronger until parents, Gen Xers, baby boomers, grandparents become very serious about talking to your white children or people who identify as white about the real history of this country. This is probably the most pivotal work we can do in our culture, is talk to our children, not passively talk to them and not safely talk to them. We can't talk to them in ways that protect our culture or even protect our resources, because we're at a stage right now where in order to remain sane or to even demonstrate sanity, we have to talk about this. And this is a great moment. It's a difficult moment in America because a lot of people are sick and we are almost afraid of each other. We're afraid to touch each other. We're afraid to say hi to each other. But it's a moment because we get to create again. We get to rebuild America. We get to look at America honestly, smack dab in the face and say, okay, I see who we are. I see what we've become, but we can do this much better. We are a tale of two countries. It's up to us to determine which country we want to see dominate, not dominate, I don't like the word dominate, which country we want to see lead. Because right now we're being dominated. We need people to step up and lead. And I believe this conglomerate of people, you, us, I think we are duly qualified to change the trajectory of how America experiences love, how we experience education, how we experience wealth, how we experience good health. We can do this. So talk to your children, read, educate, find every available resource you can. Don't just trust public school. Don't trust, I'm gonna say this is gonna be hard. Don't even trust your churches as much anymore because they've not told us a lot of things we need to know. I'm not telling you don't trust God. I'm not in that fight with you. I'm telling you, do your homework. Trust, but verify. Always verify. It's a good thing. And as long as we keep doing this, we're gonna be better. I'm a Black man. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because of these conversations. I'm a Black man. I'm gonna keep the work happening. I have 2 Black sons. I'm afraid for their lives in many moments. They don't talk like I talk, and they are young and they're boisterous and sometimes they're rude. But you know, in America, we get to be rude without breaking the law. Being rude does not break the law. And we have to understand people. There are a lot of people in jail right now because somebody didn't like their attitudes. But the police are not here to police our attitudes. That's what parents are for. That's what psychologists and psychotherapists are for. That's what faith leaders are for. It's not what the police are for. It's not what the government is for. So let's do something. Let's talk to our children. Let's talk to each other. And if you don't have Black friends, it might seem weird for you to start making them, but make them anyway. There's a lot of things about the culture of Blackness and the experience of Blackness in this world that you just can't get from a distance. You have to hear the stories. You have to be immersed in the experience of Blackness, just like Black people and brown people are immersed irrevocably in the culture of whiteness. We can't get away from it. You all can get away from us, but we cannot get away from you. So that will have to be an intentional move you make. And I'm grateful that you are here and that you're willing to listen to me talk to you. It's going to be a good day. We're going to have a better America. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Indivisible. I think it's
Man, thank you, Marquis. I knew that, yeah, you would be able to kind of, you know, invite us to reflect on the past several weeks in a way that, you know, I guess as a white person, you know I'm so aware of all the mistakes and all the things I don't know and I don't understand. And I'm grateful to you for, you know, encouraging me to, that's okay to make the mistakes, but I got to keep trying, so anyway, thank you for being here. And Marquis, do you know Kelly? Let's invite Kelly. Where is Kelly? Does Kelly need to be unmuted? And
You're welcome, Kelly.
Do you work with Kelly?
No, she thanked me. I saw the note. I'm just saying you're welcome.
There we go. Can you unmute yourself now?
Trying.
There. Okay, wonderful. So we're going to end. I think we'll probably want to have Marquis back and kind of do these check-ins on how we're doing and the progress that we're making on a regular basis. If you wouldn't mind spending a little more time with us. Great. Okay. Kelly, it's all yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Marquis and Lori and Susan and everybody else. It's great to be here. One of the things that I'd like to start off by saying is that this work is ongoing. This is not something that we're going to just do and be done with. And Lori asked me to talk about us holding ourselves accountable for the work. And one of the things that I've had to do is I've had to step back just a minute at times just to catch my breath, because it's a lot, it's overwhelming, and it's very emotional work. So don't feel like this is something that you're going to go in and you're going to do every day for a month and then you're good to go. This is going to be something that's ongoing, that's going to require you to stop and reflect before you move forward with something else. So I'm just going to talk a couple of minutes about holding ourselves accountable. This movement is something that started, I think, this phase of the movement. It's been going on in phases since slavery, but this phase of the movement, I think, became really vibrant with the death of George Floyd. But there is no end in sight. This has to continue until we are all educated about systemic racism and the effects it has on all of us, not just on the African American community, but on all of us. And one of the things that I have done that I'm the proudest of is I have started reading, and I'm doing a book study on the new Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It is an excellent, excellent resource as far as understanding systemic racism. My racism was to the point where I believed that people that were in jail because they were bad people or they had done something wrong and they deserved to be there. This book sheds a whole new light on mass incarceration and the effects of it throughout the African American community overwhelmingly. It talks not only about the penal system, about how African Americans are in jail, but it also talks about getting caught up in that whole system from the time that you may simply get pulled over for not using your turn signal, and how that ingrains you into a system where you have maybe lost your right to vote, you've lost access to housing, you've lost access to supplemental nutrition assistance, you've lost access to a whole lot of things that we all take for granted just by the fact that you were targeted because you were African American. So starting the book study, I think, was probably one of the best things that I've done because it has really opened my eyes. And I think it's critical that we all take a look at ourselves. Not only white Americans, but as Black Americans, I think it's incumbent upon us to educate ourselves because there's a lot that we don't know because we were not taught at school. So another simple thing that I challenge all of you to do is the children in your life, whether they're your children, grandchildren, nephews, neighbors, talk to their teachers and ask them, do you specifically teach Black history? Do you go beyond the history books? There are social studies companies in our school where I taught last year. The social studies company changed the term slavery to agricultural workers. And they did that because they were pressured and said that they would not renew the book contract. The book contracts would not be renewed if they kept the terms slavery in the book. So there's so much that goes on that we don't really know about. And the history of African Americans is so crucial to all of our understanding. A simple thing you can do is talk to the teachers in your children's lives and ask them about what kind of history they're taught, and make sure that they are being at least mindful and aware and even stepping outside of the traditional book to be to use as a reference, and that our children are being taught as much history as possible. Like Marquis said, it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we teach our own children, but as taxpayers, we have a right to make sure that those textbooks accurately represent the history of African Americans. So those are just a couple of things that you can do, that we can all do. And like I said, this is ongoing work. It's very important. And the third and last thing I'd like to challenge you with is something that you can do as part of Indivisible. I talked to Lori and we're starting a team on racial equity. We really want to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable, that we have an arm of Indivisible that's able to help coordinate with protests, that's able to have guest speakers, that's able to do education of our members. We want to make sure that we continue this on. So here's my information on the screen. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I just saw the picture over there. Don't pay no attention to that masked woman. But I would love to get input on ideas on things that we can do as an organization to advance the cause, to make sure that we as an organization are inclusive and that we are educating and putting out accurate information about racism and the things that we can do. So if this is something that you're passionate about, please contact me. I will be getting with Lori and we will be moving forward on some specific things that we can do to help promote racial equity within our Indivisible group. but we want to make sure that we do have a diverse and vibrant Black Lives Matter type outreach that takes care of educating ourselves and our members about racial equity. So those are some things that you can do. I'd also like to take a couple of minutes. I know there are some of you that have been purposely working on educating yourselves and reflecting and looking at what you have been doing. We're going to be taking a look at the question, what have you been doing differently to combat racism? Anything that you've watched or read? What kind of conversations have you had? Sometimes these conversations are not always easy. Like Marquis said in his remarks, some of you may not know, have a lot of African-American friends or be close to some Black people, but that's important also to make sure that you understand our story. What conversations have you had? Are you patronizing Black-owned businesses and products? Have you been using your social media as a voice, making sure that you're getting out to vote? So at this time, I'd like to take just a few minutes. If anybody has anything they'd like to share, what have you been doing in the last few months since this new resurgence of the movement on racial equity that you might like to share with other members about things that you have done that maybe we can encourage each other to do? I know that I talked with Donna a little bit. Donna, would you take a minute, please, and share a little bit about what you were talking with me about?
Oh, absolutely. And I really appreciate Marquis and Kelly and Susan. I really appreciate y'all doing this today. I went to the rally on, I guess it was June the 6th that you were referring to about a month ago. And I took my pastor with me. She's a lady pastor, and I don't think she'd ever been to any kind of a rally before, but she and I have kind of gotten in cahoots. Immediately after that, we got together and got a program together for the West Little Rock Rotary Club, which a lot of those folks are, white folks, but Annie Langford's her name. She said it was fine for me to share with y'all. But Annie's on fire, and we got, first of all, we asked Anika Whitfield to speak, and I'm learning just like everybody else is. Anika, in her very kind and gentle way, said, Donna, thank you so much for asking me, but really, you need to have white people talk to you all about it. We're kind of tired of educating y'all. So I learned a little bit about that. It's like, I've got to take some ownership here and educate myself. So Annie and I we got Denise Donnell. She had already talked to Denise and Solomon Birchfield from the Poor People's Campaign to talk to the folks that were on the Zoom call there. We're doing a book study. You can't see my screen, but it's How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, if I said his name correctly. And we're doing that in our church, partly because, I understand what you're saying about churches, Marquis. We need to speak out. We need to not be silent with our white friends. We need to step out and say, it's unacceptable to have racist attitudes and to have systemic racism like what we've had. So Annie and I are kind of in cahoots. Denise Donnell told us, you can't call yourself an ally. We have to call you an ally, and you have to earn that. And so we're working on being called allies and learning all that we can. A film that I watched that I thought was really, really eye-opening and excellent was 13th on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it just kind of blew me away. Anyway, we're doing some things like that. And then my Black friends, I have some beautiful, wonderful neighbors, and they all have sons. And of course, they've all been concerned about their sons, especially while this was going on. So I've just been trying to kind of learn from them, be present, just let them know that I'm, there, that I'm there for them and that I care about what they're going through. So that's some of the things that I've been doing and that I'm excited about learning some things about my fellow man and being a better ally.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Donna. Is there anybody else who'd like to share? And we're not looking for everything to be over the top. You've started a campaign and have been going door to door and doing, spending thousands and thousands of dollars. Just, we'd like to, you know, encourage everyone to please share about some things that you might be doing on your own. Okay, we see from Haley, trying to follow Black scientists on Twitter. I never would have thought that. I think that's an excellent thing to do. Anybody else? These are our conversations. These are what we need to talk about. And I'm sure that most of you have done something, at least just to keep your awareness open. Anyone else want to reflect?
Teresa?
Hey, y'all.
Hi, Teresa.
Hey, thank you so much for having this. This is really rad. One thing I realized I hadn't been doing, even though I'd personally been reading books over the past few years and listening to podcasts and just learning more about all of this, is I hadn't been sharing it with other people. So I think that's been my thing lately is even just my mom. So it was really sweet. I told her, hey, I read this book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And she picked it up and she started reading it. And now she's trying to pass that on to her best friend. They've been friends since like grade school. And they don't see eye to eye on this issue. So just seeing her being able to then tackle this with her best friend and just have the conversations. But then also sharing different perspectives on Instagram. So I know I don't know if this applies to y'all, but with some of the albums that have been coming out, some of the music that's been coming out will reference certain activists, or like Strange Fruit comes up over and over and over. So then just kind of delving into the history and the meaning of that to get people to maybe look a little bit deeper on their own. The poetry, the lynchings, how it is a very recent history for us.
Great, thanks for sharing. Thank you. And please check the chat box too. I have seen some other suggestions and some other things that people are doing that I think are really worth mentioning and reading. I don't know if Lori wants to read those or if it's about time to wrap up. But thank you
Just
all
go ahead
for.
and get those off real quick, just to make sure every idea gets out there, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Let's see. From Haley, on Twitter, try Find That Lizard. It's fun. And Afro, it went away. I can't see it anymore. Hang on, let me pull it back up. Afro Herper has been a great way to find other Black scientists. There are a lot of great videos out there and things that you can look at. Terry says she's read and posted on Facebook a powerful essay by Carolyn Randall Williams. You want to be a Confederate monument? My body is a Confederate monument. I read that. It was very powerful, very powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Terry. Oh, I love this one, following a National Black Doula site on Facebook to address the high mortality rates of pregnant women of color and sharing lists of Black-owned businesses. So there's lots of things that are going on that are wonderful. Please don't keep those to yourself. Please make sure that you're sharing those with your friends and family to encourage people to become active and to get involved and to take a look not only at what other people are doing, but what they themselves are doing. There's plenty that we can all do. And like I said, this is not a one and done. This is a continuing action and a continuing movement. So thanks for sharing those things. I'm going to go ahead and let Lori wrap it up. And again, if you're interested in pursuing more on the topic, please hit me up on my email. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I have to say bye, Charles, if you're, or are you just saying thank you? Do you want to say something real quick? Oh, you have to unmute real quick.
I think he's unmuted.
Okay, did I?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Do you have any numbers of Latinos in your organization, percentage-wise, that get involved with Indivisible?
Oh, well, maybe we need to have a additional conversation in detail. I would love to do that about recruiting and making our organization more welcoming. We do a lot of work, of course, with Arkansas United.
All right.
And so we partner with them, and, you know, Rosa and Mireya call on us, and they know they can count on us. And we have young people who are involved in our organization who have helped us, or actually we've helped them, I guess, take on some activism, protests, and rallies on behalf of immigration supporting causes. So that's, yeah, showing up for our local immigrant community is one of our top priorities, absolutely.
All right.
But if you want to talk more, email me, Lori, LORIEE @Indivisible LRCA, or you can message us. And if we want to talk more about that, we are all ears, would love to.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So I am going to wrap us up. Oh, I just wanted to say real quick for Kelly. Kelly is also going to be working on this. This is our Black Lives Matter web page, where you can go, for example, to get some of the resources. We're listening, we're learning. These are resources you can share to start conversations, radio, reading, and then things to take action on. So it's 3 kind of categories, and we're going to update it. This is, I think, the June information. I mean, the July information. So all the ideas that y'all are like suggesting in this chat box, those are exactly what we need to update for August. So I saved that list, Kelly, so we can pull from some of those ideas to update. Send us more, send them to Kelly, message us with them so that we can be sure to kind of make this a place where people can come back to. Okay, and then finally, next meeting is Sunday, August 9th, 3 o'clock. We'll be hearing from David Couch on the in-gerrymander measure, which is like, let's get that passed before the 2020 census. And then James Rector, we had someone ask us about social media tips for boosting voting and our favorite candidates. Is someone saying something? No, I think okay. Any other questions? Any other announcements? Anything y'all want to share before we all click off? Anyone got something you want everybody else to know about, upcoming meeting or rally or anything? Hands. Everybody, it's like 4:07. We're ready to go off to the next thing. I'm ready for my afternoon coffee. So, hey y'all, wait, photo. I got to screen capture all of your gorgeous faces. Okay, hang on. Let's do the thumbs up, okay? Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna do our screen capture? Okay, I've got it ready. 1, 2. Wait, sorry. Hang on. I always mess this up. Oh, okay, now we got it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. 2020, y'all. We're gonna win in 2020. Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you next month, if not before. Bye-bye. I feel like we need some send-off music. Like, you know, we need some, like, what would that be? Who's got some beatboxing as everybody drops off? Donna, you should be singing.
There.
You could? Oh, goodness. Okay. Hey, Sylvia. I see you on Twitter, right? Donna? I tried to. Donna, okay, yeah, because you tweet us like resources and stuff. Like, are you a researcher?
Hopefully I'm not a stalker, so.
You're the good kind. You're making sure we all have the information we need to be sharing out there. So yeah, you send so helpful stuff. I always like seeing that.
Y'all are awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for being on.
Thanks.
Bye, Kristen. I'll see you tomorrow night, right? Bye, Susan.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Charles, did Charles just drop off? Dang it, I was gonna get with him. Oh, well, I wasn't fast enough. Okay. I think he's the former leader of isn't he, Susan, do you know him? I'm pretty sure he's a former leader in the immigrant community, advocacy community. There was another organization. Is he involved with LULAC maybe? I should know. I'm embarrassed that I couldn't remember. Oh well. All right, y'all. Kristen, do you need anything for about tomorrow? We're good. 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what time I'll be back. I'm going to the lake tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Do we need to move it back?
I don't know. Let's talk. I'll text you. I'm about to be on that meeting here in a little bit.
Okay,
Are you coming to that one?
8. I don't think so.
Okay.
8 o'clock would be better for me because dinners are normally at 7:30. So if we could do 8, that would be better.
Okay.
Okay. Well, text us all.
Okay. Sounds
Oh,
good.
it's live stream. Dang it. How do I do that? I always forget. No, I'm going to start cursing here. I guess I'll just stop the end of the meeting. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.